Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right. It is Thursday. Time flies.
Oh, yeah.
Today's guests, including Farhan, standing by, brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Saturday, the Giants take on Kamloops, 7 p.m. puck drop at the LEC. Port Moody kid playing in Kamloops right now. Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Giants' annual Teddy Bear Toss game is happening December 9th at the LEC. Tickets are selling fast. Get yours now at vancouvergiants.com/tickets. Unsigned Delaney's OK Tire and Langley Inbox. You guys are hosting a sports-related show. Drop the Taylor Swift crap.
That's Joe F., I think.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Joe F. in White Rock, our buddy. Good guy.
Your buddy. Farhan Lalji joining us now. Lions and Calgary, 3:30 kickoff Saturday at BC Place, CFL Western semifinal. Farhan, thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Wasn't Taylor Swift your nickname when you were a young track and field star back in the day?
Trust me.
Or Alpha or wherever you went?
It was Alpha. Trust me, it wasn't Taylor Swift. It wasn't Taylor Swift. Ask
Taylor
anybody
Swift?
I played lacrosse. Yeah, to anybody I played lacrosse with. Okay. So, by the way, your kids, would they be into this Taylor Swift news that she's coming next year?
My daughter would, for sure. My son, not so much. But my daughter would, She, they like people have a hard time understanding how she would actually be more popular than Travis Kelce, right? Just like, with Russell Wilson, Sierra is more popular. Giselle was more popular than Tom Brady, like on a global level. It's who would have thought?
Yeah, okay. You know what? I just realized we're continuing with the Taylor Swift.
Taylor
crap.
Swift.
Yeah.
You.
Okay, Lions versus Calgary, 12-6 BC against 6-12 Calgary. What should we read into those standings, Farhan?
Well, I mean, not a ton, right? I mean, look, ultimately, I know people want to, say this game's going to be close and that Calgary's trending. And I do think it's going to be close. But like the Calgary trending thing, they had a really good game against BC. They were okay the week before against Saskatchewan. But I'm not sure that necessarily qualifies as a trend, right? It was one really, really good game. BC, though, I think is trending in the wrong direction defensively, right? I put out some numbers earlier about how since August 1st, they've been in the bottom third of the league in a bunch of key defensive metrics. So they're going to need to significantly improve here or, get back to what's important and structurally do the right things, not just structurally, but also physically, because they're going to have to find a way to stop the run. And it won't just be alignment that does it this year like it kind of did last year. I think they're going to be forced to physically do it. So I think those things will allow that game to stay close. Calgary's going to be able to slow it down a little bit. And BC is going to have to be full value. They're just not going to walk in and win it because of their 12-6 record.
Vernon Adams, Farhan, as solid as he was last year, I think the one thing people might forget is that Nathan Rourke played the 2 playoff games for the Lions last year, coming off injury, then leaving. Is Vernon Adams ready for the playoff pressure in BC?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that there's necessarily more pressure. Like, ultimately, his job is to navigate what Brent Monson's defense does against him, right? And in the last game, they kind of had a different approach in that they rarely pressured. They dropped 8, sometimes 9 players into coverage. So I don't know that they're going to be that committed to it, right? I do think we'll probably see a bit of a mix and a diet, but that's what Vernon's got to get through, right? He's got to get through his progressions. He's got to not double clutch and then, force the ball. And I'm not saying he does a lot of that, but that's kind of the one thing you see when when he pumps and goes back here and kind of goes through it all and double clutches and is less than decisive. The numbers would indicate that he's not as good. So he's got to be committed and just decisive with what he's seeing. And I think Jordan McSimic will put him in good position, but Nathan was great last year. I think Vernon has all the ability to come in here and play very well and win this football game. He generally plays his best football against Calgary. That last game notwithstanding, he's had some very good games against the Stamps over his career. Going back to Montreal, no reason why he can't again.
Hey, one more on Lions, the bye week. I can't remember the last time Lions had a bye week going into a playoff game. How is this? How are they going to handle the bye week? Is it a good or bad thing for them?
Totally good thing, right? I mean, they've had some guys that have been a little bit nicked up. I mean, even Vernon had the brace on in that game, and people were wondering whether he should have played against Calgary. He's practicing the last 2 days with no brace and is moving really, really well. Keon Hatcher didn't play in that game. And just to emotionally kind of get the the stench of that Calgary game out of their system. I think the bye came at a very good time for them. And there were some things they needed to work on, which you can't always work on in a regular work week. So to get the bonus days last week to try to fix their short yardage offense, which has been awful, right? Just little things like that for them to be able to tweak and get better at, I think was a positive thing for them at the right time.
All right, let's talk about the Canucks. 6-2-1 by all. But they should be 7-2-1 by later on tonight. But anyways, the good start. How many good things are you seeing? This is not a start I don't think anybody anticipated.
No, look, I mean, we were all hoping that the Canucks would be better at this stage. And I mean, if the Canucks were 5-4, you'd probably be feeling pretty good right now, right? I mean, even like 4-4-1, they're like. So for them to be running out of the gate like this, I think is good because as we've seen before, you can spend an entire season chasing a bad October, right? So now here they can put some points in the bank and put themselves in better position. But it's not just the numbers, but it's the way they've done it. And they haven't had to rely on goaltending to steal them a bunch of games. I mean, maybe that second game against Edmonton, in Edmonton that they won, DeSmith played great. And Demko and DeSmith have both been very good, but other than that one game, they haven't necessarily had to steal games. They've been good structurally. They've been good on the penalty kill. Their top two lines have totally delivered. Their best players have been their best players. So, and there's even been some other unsung guys that have shown some pretty good signs. Pius Suter has really impressed me so far this season, right? Just, we kind of mock the notion of little things with Louis Eriksson and Travis Green back in the day, but Suter's done some of those things that are really, really noticeable. And even the blue line, as good as Roenick and Hughes have been for this team, there have been some others like Ian Cole that have looked really, really good. So I think there's been a number of things to get excited about. And now, continued, if they can get some continued health and show this is who they are and that it's not just a couple of weeks of good run, I think we should be in for an entertaining season.
You're a coach, a football coach, but you're a coach. Were you okay with Rick Tocchet benching JT Miller a couple of days ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are the things you have to do. You've got to show that you can make your best players be accountable. And one of the things JT Miller said a year ago was that he liked the fact that Tocchet made him accountable and that, he thought it was good for him. Now, how he reacted post-game by not talking, I don't think that necessarily is a good thing, right? Because he, even though he played fine in the third period, he was clearly pissed about it after, right? So, it led to a bit of an immature response by not being fully accountable, because you certainly know that, when the Twins were the captains, that, everybody talked. That's just the way it was. And that, to me, is part of the accountability piece. That, the coach made you accountable, but you got to stand up for it, because if the situation had been a little different and let's say we knew he wasn't going to talk, now we've got to ask Elias Pettersson about it, and we've got to ask Quinn Hughes about it, who did talk after the game, right? And so I think you need to own all of that stuff and understand, too, to your point at the start, this team has been really good right now. There has been no adversity since the start of the season, and yet you couldn't come out and talk. Imagine what would have happened had there been some adversity, right? And we're not talking about loss after loss after loss, and you're just beaten down already. Things have been pretty rosy, and JT Miller has been playing great and taking a lot of bouquets that he's deserved, right? So, you kind of wonder just how it would have been if things were negative from a win-loss standpoint. But not necessarily surprised that he did it, but just disappointed that he did and that the club allowed it.
Okay, I'll put you on the spot. Let's go back to Saturday's game at BC Place, Calgary, BC. What happens?
BC's going to win, I think. Ultimately, they've been better all season. And that's not a shot at Calgary, but it's the reality. BC has been better all season, and you kind of eventually become who you are in these games. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 27-21 type of game with BC on the winning end.
Do you have a crowd update?
Well, what I do know is that on a day-by-day basis, they were trending to the same number they had a year ago, right? So they finished, I think it was 30,100, 114, something like that last year. So I think they're going to be close. Maybe they don't hit 30, but I think they're going to be in the very high 20s and should be a good crowd and a good atmosphere.
Should be fun. We won't bench you. We'll talk to you next week.
Although sometimes you do.
Well, you could bench me for 4 minutes, and I could come back after and we'll talk, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
It's a deal. Thanks, Farhan.